We're talking about how can the use of AI drive business growth. You know, the AI practitioner's guide on using the AI to drive business growth, also understanding how AI can analyze data, provide those insights into the customer behavior, market trends, and operational inefficiencies, whereby enabling business to make those informed decisions, looking at minimizing the costs as well as maximizing revenue. Thereafter, also helping us to integrate AI into business strategies that can lead to those growth opportunities, right towards our theme of the event, which is inspire, innovate, and integrate. So ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'd like to call upon Ms. Moneka Khurana, Country Head and BOD Member, MMA Global India, for curating this conversation with our speaker, Mr. Rohit Bhasin, MMA India Board Member, President and CMO of Kotak Mahindra Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, a big, big round of applause for Mr. Bhasin and Ms. Khurana. And Ms. Khurana, apologies.
Yes.
If you can be seated on the left, just,
Oh, sure.
just for the aesthetics on the stage. Yes, thank you so much. Over to you.
Okay, so, yeah. Okay, so this is a pre-lunch session, but I promise you, you have every reason to stay put because it's an extremely interesting and a very insightful conversation. And I'm really, really glad that we have just the right person to do it. So whilst Rohit is on the MMA India board, he's an expert, in the area of marketing and business. And, given his long stint in the CPG category and then now in BFSI, I think both categories together make it very potent, very, very potent to have a conversation around how AI is really driving business growth because it just brings such a wide perspective for us. So Rohit, I'm really glad we're doing this together. And I know we've had lot of conversations on how we want to sort of drive the narrative. So let me first start off by really letting the audience rub off on the conviction you have, right? On why do you believe that AI can be a very powerful engine to really drive business growth?
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Monica. Of course, while MMA is all about mobile marketing, and we talk a lot about AI in marketing, but for me, actually, I just feel that is a bit overrated because the best use case of AI is across the end-to-end business than just being in marketing. So I want to talk a bit about that. Of course, the most routine or the most primitive use of AI is to automate routine tasks and to drive cost efficiency.
Right.
But I actually believe that the best use case of AI comes when you can find an end-to-end use case to drive business growth. And I'll explain to you what I really mean about that. So for me, it's about, for me, the way I look at AI definition is about how it actually, analyzes consumer data to predict human behavior, to then offer personalized experiences and propositions and products, and hence drive business growth. So I'll give you live examples. Let's say, you have a young kid, a boy or girl who's just kind of graduating out of college, early jobber, got his first job. Till now, he was living in the campus, in the hostel, education being paid off by his parents on a stipend. So he was like spending within that limited budget that he had. Now he's earning for the first time. So of course, as all good Indians, first month, a lot of part of that salary will go into giving gifts to your parents. But after that, he now wants to spend. That's his favorite hobby. So he wants to spend, he wants to invest. So how does he want to spend? So whatever things he wanted to buy, he will look at the best deals, the best offers on those. He's not about just getting an iPhone, but getting an iPhone with the best deal so that he can be the smart guy in the group who got the best discount on the iPhone. A lot of times he runs into a credit trap. So earns 40,000 rupees a month, but bought something for 60,000 rupees a month in 60,000 rupees. So what do? I convert that into an EMI, and that is where, let's say, a credit card comes into picture. So now if you are a credit card company and you want to give a credit card to this person who has no credit history, how do you really choose out of all the early jobbers who are joining the workforce, whom should you give a credit card, whom you should not give a credit card? Right. And I think that's where the first use case kind of start, where where a credit card company can build multiple of data algorithms to really define who are the right credit-worthy people, how much loan or how much credit should you give on the limit to this person, whom do you think is more likely to return the money back, whom do you think is not going to return your money back. And I think that is where the first use case of AI comes in this case. So now that you've, let's say, decided that Rohit will get a credit card with a pre-approved limit, the product guy comes in and says, how do I define the right value proposition for him? Of course, then you go back to AI and say, what is this guy, what are the insights? Is this guy into shopping? Is this guy into travel? Is this guy into food? Therefore, what could be the right product proposition for him? So let's say he's a guy who really shops a lot, and from all the trends that you see, shops a lot for fashion. So you could do a Myntra Kotak co-branded card, and that's the value prop that you decide is the right one to offer to him because that's most likely to drive conversion. Once you decide the right product for him, the marketing guy now steps in and says, okay, what is the right messaging I should do to him? I know we've got a pre-approved limit. I know he's the right guy to potentially buy a Kotak Myntra credit card, but he will be exposed to some 20 messages from 20 different credit card companies. How do I give a better chance of him converting into my messaging? And then again, you look at data from artificial intelligence and see, is this a guy more likely to respond to an emotional message or to a function message? Is he a guy who wants to be seen as the cool guy, or is he a guy who wants to be seen as the guy who got the best deal? Based on that, you define the right marketing proposition, marketing messaging to him. After that, here's the media guy who comes into the picture and says, okay, now I have a proposition, I have a campaign. How do I drive the right return on investment? Which channel is he more likely to go on to? Which channel is he more likely to kind of convert? Of these 3 different messages I have, which is most likely going to drive persuasion and therefore drive higher return on investment and campaign effectiveness. Now he's bought the card. Now he's using the card. Now again, the product guy comes into the picture and says, okay, I want to maximize spends on this card. How do I do that? Based on his spends for the last 6 months, how do I predict? Should he be, should I put up a proposition, or should I be putting up an offer to him about getting a deal on Swiggy or getting a deal on something else? When do I offer an EMI to him so that I can make him stretch his spend, but not so much stretch that he becomes delinquent, and therefore personalize the right message, right benefit offers for him.
Sure.
And then finally the last guy in this whole equation would be the collections guy. Of course, I need the money back, because if I've given credit to you and you don't give my money back, then it's of no use to me. But again, if a person defaults, the credit history of his becomes bad, and at the same time, it's always difficult to recover money. But how do I use AI to predict who are the potential defaulters? Based on their data habits, based on their spending habits, other places, how can I, based on their trends, what I see, the way they behave online, how can I predict this guy is going to be a defaulter, this guy is not going to be a defaulter? If I know that this guy might become a defaulter in the next 3 months, how do I kind of engage with him, have a chat with him? How do I convince him that you should make your minimum payment, etc.? So if you see the entire end-to-end ecosystem I described from you, which is about identifying and predicting what are his right needs, looking at data, analyzing data, predicting what could be his right needs, therefore deciding what is the right product proposition to give to him, with the right marketing message, with the right credit offering, and all the way into kind of collections. That for me is the best use case of AI, where you don't think just from a marketing point of view, but think from an end-to-end life cycle point of view, where you use data at your hand to really predict the behavior, potential behavior, and with the prediction of the potential behavior, kind of personalize experiences and offerings and drive business growth. So I just wanted to use that as an example as to that's for me the use case of AI as I've seen in organization than just on a marketing level.
Yeah, actually that really made a lot of sense. So what we've really seen is a complete picture of a customer, right from understanding the customer's need to how a business can use AI to sort of target it rightly, fulfill it, and then again continue retaining that customer through the customer life cycle. So I think you really described that very, very effectively. But despite of the fact that there is so much potential, and that's the power of AI, there is a lot of resistance in organizations, more in terms of a, I would say, like a need rather than a resistance. It's a need to shift mindsets, right? Where we need to be open to do it the new way. We need to be open to sort of have a learner's mindset, an experimentative mindset, and largely more strategic agility, right? So how are you encouraging, your teams to look at it differently, to enable a mindset shift internally?
Yeah, so Monica, I don't think there's resistance. It's more, as you said, a shift in mindset. And I
Yes.
kind of take us back to, when television was where we used to advertise, and I think the example that Vijay gave in the previous
Yes.
one is to how does he shift people from only thinking of social and digital as potential places to advertise, and also rather than looking at, retail as well. It's the same thing. I think there's always an appetite for doing something different if it adds value, but you don't have knowledge.
Right.
So it's more of a knowledge gap rather than a, rather than a resistance of I don't want to use it. And as leaders in organizations, you have to kind of drive more and more education, to drive more and more use cases. You have to build capability in the organization. It's like saying that when we were all 25 years back, television was the only channel of advertising, and Facebook came, and search came, and social came. We were all not sure how to use that. And so only once we started using that personally, right from the top, drove a cultural change and brought in experts who understood that new channel. We got to do the same, bring in data scientists into the organization who understand data, bring in people who know how to use data. And that's the way you will actually be able to embed use of AI into your organization.
Got that. So has that been a journey Kotak has already undertaken? How are you really enabling that journey of knowledge dissemination, training? What is it that you all are doing to inculcate that, process?
So I think the first and foremost thing, so, I would say that we are quite early in the adoption stage. We've not reached a stage where we can confidently say that we really know it very well. We're learning, we're failing, we're changing, we kind of getting back and doing things again. But for me, the way what we've done at Kotak, the first thing that we've done is we've really tried to strengthen our data, data skills, data abilities. So we've gotten the best talent from all over the industry who've kind of worked on data. And we've kind of built in the whole data division, we've built what I call the compute and the consume teams. So the compute teams comprises of data scientists whose job is to really build the right algorithms which can look at data from every piece, every angle, and bring out some meaningful insights, which the compute and the consume team really comprises of data analysts who work along with the business owners and the marketeers to really define how do I ask the right questions to this data, so I can generate meaningful insights which can really help me, take decisions in my team. So, for example, I have a project where I want to define what is the right value prop for the affluent segment. So, in the past, what would I do as a marketer or as a product owner? I would hire a research agency and I say, go meet 20 consumers, bring me insights, go meet people physically. Of course, I would do a lot of that even now because you really get the real pulse when you speak to consumers one-on-one. But along with that, I will go to my compute team and give them a brief saying that, we've got 20 lakh affluent consumers in the bank. Please look at them and come back and tell me what are the different cohorts, what are the needs, and understanding of the cohort and their specific needs. How can I then give that to the product guy and say, okay, now you build the right proposition for them. And I think that is what we are trying to do at every point of time, use the data in-house to really ask these questions and generate insights about consumers and complement that with actual interviews with consumers in real life. So I think that's the big shift.
I like that. So basically you mentioned that there is a compute team and a consume team, and essentially you're trying to ensure that they collaborate effectively to be able to deliver on business objectives. And I think that's a great framework to have heard of. So, largely, so that's at your end, right? But largely, as we see the ecosystem, there is a capability gap, right? And, there are also, limited resources, correct? Because at the end of the day, we all understand that there are multiple use cases to AI, but you can't be trying everything at one time. You got to prioritize in terms of resources, time, etc. So for example, if you had to recommend how those capability gaps should be bridged and how should resources be prioritized, what would your 2 bits be about it?
I think I would really, first of all, put a lot of resources in building the data capabilities in the bank.
Okay.
I mean, not just in the bank, in any organization. Okay. Because what happens in many cases that, at least in a BFSI space, you have a lot of first-party data. But if you're in a CPG space, you don't have a lot of first-party data. You know, here, anyone who opens an account with us, anyone who buys a product, we have to do a full KYC of that person, and therefore we have every possible demographic data of that person. But if you're in a levers, someone who buys a soap from a shop, physical shop, you don't really have, and you actually do spend a lot of time, effort, money in trying to get first-party data so that then you can mirror that with third-party data. So I think depending on the ability of depending on the type of the company that you're in, you have to really invest in data capabilities. Because if you do not have data, what will artificial intelligence do for you? Because it needs data to kind of analyze that and be able to predict because the best use of AI for me is to be able to predict what would be the consumer behavior so that you can then personalize your product proposition. So that's the first point, build strong data capabilities. The second thing would be build capabilities in your teams to ask data questions. Ask if you have data and you don't know how to kind of ask questions on that data, it's again of no use. And the third thing would be to really, experiment. Just experiment. Try out few things. If it doesn't work out, try something else. Work with agencies who kind of bring in new skills. What I learned when we were trying to move from television to digital, we didn't have those skills in-house. We had to go and work with external agencies who had those skills. So, I mean, be a lifelong learner, unlearn what you've learned in the past, and experiment. So those are the 3 things which I would kind of do.
Awesome. That really sounded like a formula, like keep it simple, like build your data capabilities. Obviously, it's like saying you may have the best recipe, but you have bad ingredients, and that dish is not going to taste good. So that's what one means, that have the right data capabilities, have the right data to leverage it, ask the right questions, and then continue, and then experiment at scale, given what AI can really do from a personalization standpoint. So I really like the way you described that, Rohit. But I am sure whilst in the room, this makes perfect sense, but there are ground level challenges, right? There are ground level challenges when it comes to really embracing AI effectively in the business value chain or within marketing, etc. So would you be able to call out some of the challenges you see being faced at your end, or what you've observed over your stint in over so many decades? Because AI is not really new. It's just that it's evolved more. So what are those challenges?
I think the biggest challenge in my view is we all of us are very happy with status quo. Okay. I think that for me is the biggest challenge. Even today, many companies talk about, hey, I want to do something on digital, but don't know how to do that. Okay. And today, not knowing how to spend or build content for social and digital is like a crime. But yeah, a lot of people still want to do only television. You got to do both. So here as well, it's about just the biggest challenge for me is lack of knowledge, complete lack of knowledge. You don't know what AI can do, and even if you know what AI can do, you don't know how to kind of use that. You'll hear a lot of stuff like, oh, I can give a kind of a prompt to an AI engine, 2 men sitting on a horse going towards the sunset, and an image will kind of get. I go to a lot of conferences where questions are asked on things like, now AI can create marketing content. What will agencies do? AI can create visual content. What will you can ask ChatGPT anything to do. But you still have people doing what they're doing. You cannot replace creativity. So for me, it's about really understanding how to make AI your partner in actually being able to drive your objectives. rather than kind of shying away from it. So the biggest challenge is lack of knowledge. The second challenge in my view is I spoke about lack of data capabilities, knowing how to build data and how to ask data questions. And I think the third challenge just is about experimenting and trying. Those are the three challenges, that I feel. And as leaders, we have to just keep on asking the right questions, creating the right ecosystem, bringing in talent from outside, beefing up your data capabilities, and then over time, as people practice and practice and practice, it'll become, any behavior change needs time. But until you have a process to kind of do that on a regular basis. I worked on Lifebuoy as a brand, and to make a person start washing hands, any behavior change takes 21 days of regular practice. I mean, something like this will take months and years. We just have to keep on practicing it.
That makes sense. Yes, it is definitely a long-term journey, and one needs to be at it for sure. It only gets refined as you kind of keep trying, and it is work in progress, so it'll keep improving with time. But Rohit, you spoke about experimentation, right? And that's really at the heart of what we're saying. Innovate. Did my mic go off?
That's a signal.
Is this
that
okay? Yeah.
time is about to get...
Okay. No, we're good. Okay. So, you spoke about experimentation, and that's what innovate as the second eye is all about. Like, you got to really have an appetite to innovate. You want to tell us some use cases which either you've seen in public domain or which you're privy to internally in terms of how you're experimenting. So
we're quite excited with the space of generative AI, which is different than traditional AI. And there are a couple of use cases which I'm quite excited what we're really trying. So one of the use cases that we're trying to do is that imagine you call the call center, and based on your tonality, I can figure out how are you feeling about your problem. And based on your tonality, I can actually decide how to engage with you to make your experience much smoother. So I think that's one use case of generative AI. The other use case which we are trying to see is, if you're calling a call center of a FMCG product, it's very easy. I used a shampoo, the cap didn't open, or it was leaking. I used it, I didn't like it. It's not a complex category. But try calling a call center of a bank. Bank is a very complex organization. Finance is very, very complex. And then you got a call center guy whom you're supposed to, you could have a credit card issue, you could have a PPF account issue, you could have we sell 40, 50 products. One use case of Gen AI that we're trying to figure out is that, how can, the moment you call a call center, everything about the company's products and information can get displayed to the call center guy in a fashion that he can answer any of your queries, so that your problems get solved on the spot by that person rather than he giving you an inadequate response, and that really makes your experience much more happier than what you would normally have in the past. So these are a couple of use cases of Gen AI that we're looking at. Of course, there are many, but these are the two I thought I would love to talk about.
Fair. So basically, that's really a great way to have augmented that quality of conversation which you have with your customers, and use Gen AI to your advantage for it. So I think that's very meaningful. I think so far what we've done is we've really been able to establish the why of why AI can enable business growth. What is that mindset change that's needed? What are the capabilities that are needed for it? And of course, what are some of the examples which we can already hear from Rohit in terms of how it's being implemented? So I think to close this particular conversation, I do want to touch upon the future aspect of AI enabling business growth, right? So, according to you, how do you see that journey evolving? Do you really think that it's more about just sharpening the process and being at it, and that's what it's going to take? Or is there more to it that one should be looking at over a period of time when it comes to embracing AI?
I think it's more the former than the latter.
Okay.
And, AI will be as smart as you make it to be smart. So therefore, please always remember that I don't think that AI will replace, human creativity. AI human creativity will educate AI as to how AI can help human creativity even more. And I think the future is very bright for AI. You just have to know how to use it, learn about it, embrace it, and practice it. And build the right talent. Building the right talent and capabilities in your organization is extremely important. I mean, I've possibly repeated that many times. I'll say that for the last time. And if you get the right talent, if you get the right leadership who drives a structural and a cultural change, and just drive practicing, work with agencies who kind of complement you in skills, because you will not have all the skills yourself. And then the future is very bright for AI and for your business.
If I may nudge you a little more on that one, is there any specific change you see in the amount of insourcing versus outsourcing that could possibly start happening when it comes to investing into AI?
See, when it comes to data, you'll do all insourcing because of privacy issues. You will never, you never give data outside. So therefore, I would recommend building your algorithms. I really would believe, spend time, effort, money in building your data backbone. For anything, deciding on the difference between giving credit to people who will not return the money versus giving a lot of credit to people who will return your money is the only thing which will define is your ability to predict his or her human behavior. And therefore, get that act right. And then make sure people know how to use that data. Just focus on these two things. You can make a big difference. Don't get distracted by kind of doing 10, 20 things. Just get your data right, and then just get the usage of data right. After that, whether it's the use case in marketing or compliance or legal, it's very easy to do. But focus on those two things. Everything else will fall in place.
Nice. So before I let you go, I do want you to once again, share a perspective. When you and I have spoken about this particular topic, you kept saying that, finally, for business growth, it's important to minimize costs. It's important to reduce bad debt, and it's then about maximizing revenue, right? So if one has to continuously straddle these three effectively, right? How should leaders be looking at the journey ahead? Technology is an enabler, yes, but it could also be an overall perspective that you can share with us.
For me, the reason why there's so much of business wastage happens is because when you don't have sharp insights, you create something which is not relevant to consumers, and you believe you got a great campaign, great product, and then you put loads and loads of money on it, no one buys it, and then you wonder why it didn't kind of work. And I think that is where the success for a good marketer, a good business leader is all about understanding consumer needs, based on those needs, building the right product propositions and building awareness of those. I think humans do it well. AI can help you do that even better. And I think that for me is the way I look at this. If you really understand, then use AI to understand the needs better and create the right personalized winning propositions, your revenue will maximize, your delinquencies or bad debts will go down, and you'll see higher overall business growth. So that's really the way I follow it.
Wow. This couldn't have ended on a better note. So we clearly have a loud and clear message that it's important to get your data capabilities right. It's important to get data right, and then it's important to know how to use that data to your advantage. And of course, AI is kind of going to enable that effectively to the scale you need it to. So on that note, Rohit, thank you very much. It was lovely chatting, and I think this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.